Dinosaurs are among the most fascinating creatures to have ever existed on our planet. From their powerful jaws to their giant claws and teeth, they seem like terrifying monsters straight out of a nightmare. But it was this very size that caused their extinction, right? We know that 66 million years ago, the asteroid impact led to a mass extinction, ending the reign of dinosaurs and allowing mammals to take over. Or did it? Did one dinosaur manage to survive this apocalyptic event? What would the world be like today if we had discovered that one of these giant reptiles had managed to escape extinction? What if it was living in the middle of us without us even knowing it? Well, welcome back. I'm here to answer just that. Let's jump in. It all started with some unusual fossils. The year was 1972 when workers were digging at the Hell Creek Formation in Montana. They were looking for prehistoric bones to take back to the lab. And wouldn't you know it, they found something incredible. A small skull with teeth. At first glance, it might not seem like much, but paleontologists later discovered that it belonged to a horned dinosaur called Triceratops. And what made this find so interesting is that the skull was only about 18 years old. Scientists estimated that it had lived between 66 and 68 million years ago, right around the time of the mass extinction. This suggests that the animal died only a few years before the asteroid struck, meaning it could have been an eyewitness to the end of its kind. But that wasn't all. This particular Triceratops showed strange signs of healing from injuries, including a hole in the back of its skull. It also had a healed rib injury, and its jawbone had been broken at some point too. All of this suggests that it managed to survive for several years after each of these events. But how did such a large animal manage to live with multiple life-threatening injuries? Well, it comes down to simple survival instincts. If food becomes scarce, and there is a risk of being hunted, animals will often resort to protecting themselves by hiding and conserving energy. This is exactly what happened with the Triceratops. After getting injured, it went into survival mode, hiding from predators and staying still to avoid being detected by them. Its slow metabolism helped it heal faster, but it also meant it needed less energy to survive. Once it was well enough, it probably left its shelter and began looking for food again. But this, too, required little effort, since it likely spent most of its time eating plants that grew close to the ground. In other words, it may not have been able to fight off predators or chase down prey, but it was still able to survive. And since no one was around to witness it, it basically got away with murder. Disappearance. But if the Triceratops could survive like this, perhaps other species could too. And scientists have a pretty good idea of which ones those might be. Take, for example, the Titanosaur. This long-necked sauropod was once thought to have gone extinct 66 million years ago. But in 2020, researchers discovered new fossil evidence suggesting that it lived in North and South America until 34 million years ago, more than 30 million years after the mass extinction. The Titanosaur didn't just suddenly appear out of nowhere. Instead, scientists believe that it evolved from a smaller ancestor and lived alongside other mammals during the Cretaceous period. When the asteroid hit, it wiped out many of these animals, but not all of them. Some managed to survive and eventually became the ancestors of modern whales. So while the Titanosaur may not have been the only dinosaur to survive the mass extinction, it was definitely among the last to stick around. And it managed to do so thanks to its enormous size. See, the Titanosaur was huge, weighed about 24 tons, and was almost 20 meters long. But despite its impressive dimensions, it wasn't very tall. It had a neck that was relatively short compared to other sauropods, and stood only 5 meters at the shoulders. These proportions allowed it to move easily through dense vegetation, and even swim underwater in search of food. This would have been useful after the impact, as it would have allowed it to access resources not available to other species. Furthermore, being so big meant that the Titanosaur didn't need to eat as much as smaller animals. This would have helped it survive during times of food shortage, which were likely common after the asteroid impact. In fact, research has shown that global temperatures dropped significantly in the aftermath of the impact, leading to a decrease in plant growth and an overall change in climate. This would have put a lot of stress on smaller animals, but the Titanosaur was likely able to keep going as usual, so you can see why it managed to outlive the rest of its kind. But what if it hadn't? What would the world be like today if a dinosaur had survived the mass extinction? Honestly, we can only speculate. But let's just say that things wouldn't be pretty. You see, when the asteroid hit, it didn't just wipe out the dinosaurs, it also caused massive ecological changes that impacted all life on Earth. Plants and animals alike were affected, and ecosystems were thrown into chaos. Even though a single dinosaur might have been able to survive by hiding away, it wouldn't have been able to maintain its species. It would have needed a whole ecosystem to support a population of its kind. But if it did somehow manage to do so, who knows what would happen? For one thing, humans probably wouldn't exist. Just imagine what would happen if a Tyrannosaurus Rex showed up in the middle of New York City. It would cause total havoc, trampling buildings and causing widespread destruction. There's no doubt that humans would be wiped out within minutes. Don't think that a herbivorous dinosaur would be any better. Take the Triceratops, for example. Remember that one that we talked about earlier? Well, imagine if it had managed to survive and reproduce, creating a whole herd of them. They would have been huge, reaching lengths of up to 9 meters and weighing up to 12 tons. And there's no doubt that they would have caused major damage to crops and property. Humans would have been forced to defend themselves against these giant beasts, which would have led to an all-out war. And I don't think you want to know who would have won that. Okay, let's be real. Dinosaurs were amazing creatures, but we're better off without them. But what if they had stuck around? Who else would be sharing our planet today? Well, it's hard to say, but scientists believe that a group of flying reptiles known as pterosaurs would have been among them. Unlike dinosaurs, they were better suited to the post-impact world. They were already relatively small, with most species measuring around 2 to 3 meters in length and weighing about 20 kilograms. This would have allowed them to fly longer distances without expending too much energy. Plus, their diet consisted mostly of fish, which were abundant in the oceans after the impact. Some pterosaurs were even able to dive into the water and snatch fish out of it like pelicans, so they were perfectly positioned to thrive in the new world. But it's important to remember that even if a few species of dinosaurs and pterosaurs had managed to survive the mass extinction, they likely wouldn't have been able to do so forever. Eventually, competition with mammals would have taken over. And that's probably for the best. Don't get me wrong, it would be amazing to see a dinosaur roaming free today. But let's just say we're better off keeping them extinct. What do you think? Would you like to see a dino around today? Which extinct creature would you bring back? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, make sure to subscribe so you never miss an awesome video. Thanks for watching. See ya.